This is a story about Grandmother Spider, and it's told by the Cherokee people in the dark time of the year. Long, long, long time ago, so long ago that there was only darkness and there was no light in this half of the world. All the people, all the animals, everyone was living in darkness. And especially the animals, they all kept on bumping into each other. Hey, will you mind where you're going? Look, you just stepped on my foot. That was my tail. Look at where you're going. Hey, hey. One day, Fox spoke up. She said how, on the other side of the world, the people there have caught the sun and stuck her in a tall tree. And they are so greedy, they do not want to share light with the rest of us. And they have captured her and keep her there. Well, said Possum, I'll go over there. I'm pretty sneaky. I can steal some of that stuff. And so Possum walked across the great plains and went across the river and over the mountains until he came to that place on the other side of the world where the people had taken the sun and trapped her in a tree. Slowly, slowly, Possum snuck right around those people and up into their tree and took a bit of the sun and he hid it in his tail. And slowly, slowly, Possum crossed over the mountains, and by the time he got to the river, his tail was so hot, it was on fire, it was burning. He jumped into the river and he put out that fire and came back to the people. I was sneaky, said Possum. I tried my very best, but I couldn't bring back light. Well, problem with you, Possum, is you're too slow, said Buzzard. Why don't you let me go? And so Buzzard flew across the plain and over the river and over the mountains until he came to the place where the sun was stuck in a tree. He so fast, flew all over those people, right up to where the sun was stuck in the tree, and he took a little bit of her light and he hid it in the feathers of his head. And then he quickly flew over the mountain, and just as he got to the river, his head started to burn into smoke, and Buzzard couldn't bring back sunlight either. Well, then Bear stepped up and said, well, I'll go. Problem with you, Buzzard, is you think you're so good that you're so fast. And Possum, you think you're so smart because you're so sneaky and slow. But the problem with the both of you, I think the problem really is that neither one of you is strong enough to bring back sunlight. So Bear strode across that plain, walked right through that river, went over those mountains, and went right to where the people had sun stuck in a tree. He pushed them aside and climbed right up that tree and picked up some of sunlight and climbed down again with sunlight in his hands. He strode up and down those mountains and over them. He went right to the river, but of course by the time he got to the river, his hands were really hot. They were burning, they were smoking. He couldn't see where he was going. He stumbled into the river and and Bear could not bring back sunlight either. Well, meanwhile, the people were still in darkness, and they were still bumping into each other all the time. Hey, is that you? How should I know who it is? I can't see anything. Get off me. That's my foot. Don't you understand? You're on my tail. And Grandmother Spider spoke up. She said, I will go. But of course, people didn't really hear her, for she was actually leaving. Grandmother walked across the plains, and then Grandmother Spider threw her thread across the river, and she sailed over the river in a gentle breeze. Then she threw her thread up the mountain and climbed up, and threw it down the mountain and sailed down to the other side of the world where the people had the sun stuck in a tree. Grandmother Spider very carefully climbed up that tree. She was carrying with her a pot that she had made with a top on it, a clay pot. Grandmother Spider had prepared this for her journey, and she took a little bit of the sun and put it in the pot, and then she covered it with the top. She wrapped her thread around the pot and carried it down the tree, and then she sailed up the mountain and down the mountain, and she threw her thread across the river, and she walked across the plain back to where the people were still in darkness. Grandmother Spider opened the pot, and out sprang sunlight up into the sky, lighting everything. And so it was that Grandmother Spider brought the people not only sunlight, but the gift of fire and the gift of pottery. To this day, Possum has no fur on his tail, and Buzzard has not a single feather on his head, and Bear has no fur on his paws. And as for Grandmother Spider, she still has the wisdom to create in time of need.